to our night.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Between the Pot and a Hard Place. I'm Stephen Colton.
And I, as always, am Chris Kirkpatrick.
And I am having some technical problems tonight, so I may be frozen, I may be delayed, I don't know, but we're running with it.
We like you anyway, Stephen.
Yeah, and I just discovered tonight that if I just left the lamp off back there, that it's dark in the room, but I'm pretty well lit just from the screen, so
Yeah,
I kind of like that.
yeah, you look like a disembodied head.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like Zordon from the Power Rangers. Rangers. But yeah, I don't know. It works. Everybody look at my Ninja Turtles. So no. Tonight we were talking about having I'm assuming his name is Dan. I never asked his name, but I'm assuming Dan's Toy Box. He's in the group, and we kind of worked out a thing where he's sending me the two other turtles that I don't have.
Oh, really? Cool.
Which should be here tomorrow. And he was going to join us tonight, but I thought, would you want to wait until the next show so we can kind of review the new turtles and kind of talk about that stuff? And he's like, yeah, that might be better. So I thought that would be kind of fun. And so he'll be joining us next show.
Okay.
All
that Facebook stalking for nothing.
Yeah. I need a Kermit the Frog. Oh, it's a Ninja Turtle. Yeah, it is a Ninja Turtle. Everybody.
All right. Hey, Clemente.
Joining in. Hello. How's everybody doing? All right. So, yeah. Of course, our title card or whatever you want to call it, looking at that again, it's episode 98. Wow, it's a lot of episodes. And I'm Doctor Strange. And
wow. I guess I'm Wong.
I guess.
How Wong is that?
Oh, Wong. So Wong. It's funny because normally I jump at these movies, but I have not watched Doctor Strange yet. And
why? What are you waiting for?
Honestly, I don't know. I was going to go one day, and then I had other things going on, and then I was going to get another day, and then I just never went. But I already know a lot of the details about the movie, so I'm not too worried about spoilers. So I thought we can go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah,
I guess.
So here's what I want to know, because we've got a bunch of people that are already watching us live here tonight. How many of you guys that are watching us live have watched Multiverse of Madness, and then what did you rate it out of 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I am Dr. Stephen Strange.
Dr. Stephen Strange, absolutely.
Strange things always happen with my connection, so
I know. So I will say again, doing my best not to spoil it for you, Stephen, is I gave it a very solid 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I think if you're a Sam Raimi fan, you will particularly like it. There are some interesting cameos. Certain people that have appeared traditionally in Raimi movies that show up in this one.
Okay.
I will say that the highlight of the movie, in my opinion, though, is what we get out of Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch. If you were waiting for that moment.
So loved it. 8 out of 10 would have been better if they didn't cut 40 minutes from it.
I agree. I thought that it probably could have used a little bit more time to develop things. I mean, it didn't feel too long. And again, he agreed with me. 8 out of 10 is probably a pretty good number for the film. Is it Endgame? Is it Spider-Man No Way Home? No, not exactly. But I feel like in the MCU we've reached this level that is just so unattainable.
Yes.
I don't know how we're going to make movies that'll top it, but is it a good movie that I think is still pretty well written and enjoyable? It absolutely is.
Yeah, I mean, I knew, like I said, I know a few details of the movie. I kind of know the direction some characters take and the overall plot. And I knew of one cameo not long time ago. It makes it sound like it was years ago. It was like a few days ago, and I'd seen that already. And then we were talking in the group about the movie, and everybody's like, "Well, what is this?" And you made the comment of like, "It doesn't spoil anything. It's out of context." And I'll go ahead and say it. John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. I saw that way early on. I think the day the movie came out, I was just scrolling and it says like John Krasinski thoughts on the like no. That moment I would have been like, whoa, because people have been for a couple of years now put him as Mr. Fantastic, put him as
Right.
Mr. Fantastic.
Right.
And I've seen a couple of screenshots of his scene in the movie, and I was like, okay, that looks really cool. I've always loved him. I'm huge fan of The Office and the A Quiet Place, the Jack Ryan series, which I haven't seen a lot of, but I've seen some. He's a great dude. He's got pretty good range as far as what he can do. And I'm excited to see it for that. I know it's just a small little piece and it doesn't really mean much, but it's still cool to know that he's at least a version of that character. And knowing that we're going to get Fantastic Four, knowing that we're going to get X-Men, how they're going to do all that. Is it going to be the same versions? Is it going to be the same actors? Is somebody completely different? Is it going to be like Richard Simmons playing Mr. Fantastic?
I'm a pony. That would be quite the version indeed. I'm sure it would at least be energetic. I think there's another character that you are probably familiar with in being there.
Mm-hmm. All of them.
Yes.
But yeah, Patrick Stewart, of course, and
of course,
I saw the trailer. Everybody knew when you see the trailer, that last trailer before release, that okay, he's going to be in it, and you see the hand on the yellow wheelchair, you hear the voice, you know he's in it, and that's exciting. Again, who knows if they're going to come back and do a version of Professor Xavier with Patrick Stewart in the new X-Men, or are they going to continue? Like, nobody knows, but I think it doesn't matter either way because we get that one thing to say like, okay, this character exists somewhere,
right,
or did exist somewhere, and I think that's pretty cool. I've heard different talks of who should play Wolverine in the new version, or if it's rebooted, and there's been talks of so many different people. I think the craziest one I had seen was Harry Potter himself.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe. And they had a digital fan art of him kind of like photoshopped into the hair. And you just kind of picture Hugh Jackman and see like his version of Logan, and then imagine Daniel Radcliffe's face instead of his. And that's what it looked like. And it looked okay, but I mean, he's already going to beat Weird Al, so that's good enough, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Cool. I'll say it. Daniel Radcliffe is a good actor.
He is.
However, I think it would be a real stretch for him to play Wolverine.
Yes. If there were like some sort of CG thing, I think Beast Boy from Teen Titans. I know that's a different universe to DC and Marvel, but that's the first character I could think of superhero related would be like a Beast Boy or something. And it's like, I don't see him as Wolverine. The height, maybe. The build, possibly. Because I know Wolverine is pretty much universally shorter than a lot, like 5'9" or something like that.
I don't find him to be bulky enough.
Right. He's got the height, but like, and maybe the frame, but the size itself, like the muscle tone and the size, maybe not. Maybe Wolverine or Logan as a teenager before he's fully developed or something, but I don't see him playing like the Wolverine at all. I hope that's not the case anyway.
I mean, listen, I will admit that I got it wrong on Robert Pattinson as Batman.
Yeah, he was great.
I could not get Twilight out of my head. And I certainly was one of those many people who said, I don't know as if Batman should sparkle. That said, Robert Pattinson did a fantastic job. And so maybe I need to get over my implicit bias that Daniel Radcliffe can only be Harry Potter. And, say that if that ultimately is their choice, then he could probably pull it off.
And I
That
felt the
said,
same way
yeah,
about Ben Affleck.
he was a I think very very passable Batman.
Yeah, not the best, but I mean, it worked. I know the biggest complaint with Robert Pattinson was the fact that he was too emo, too like, and the hair and everything. But hey, it's a different version. If people were okay with Jared Leto's Joker, then they should be okay with this Batman. That's just me. Um, but yeah,
I'm not really a Jared Leto Joker fan though.
I'm not either. I did like the version of him in the Snyder Cut better, and in that extra scene in the whatever they call like the nightmare scene or whatever it was, where they're in the desert and all this crazy stuff's going on, and we see that Joker without all the eye drop tattoos, and he's got longer hair, and it just seems more fitting. But still, I think Joaquin Phoenix did a great job. People are complaining about that when it's like that's not Joker. It's like, well, it's a Joker.
You
There's
know what?
never, I don't know.
What that Joker did was what I thought was impossible. He made the Joker a sympathetic character.
Yeah,
Where I up until even when he shot those guys on the subway, I felt like they deserved it.
they really
You know
did.
what I mean? They did. But the idea that here I am essentially cheering for somebody who becomes a mass murderer and one of the worst characters in existence. Um, and that was the brilliance, I think, of the film was it made me like somebody that I shouldn't like.
Yeah. And I think that was important to establish the origin of the character. You can't just have a guy that's like instantly insane. You got to wonder like how he becomes it. Nobody's just born insane. Now, they might be born with some sort of mental disabilities, but they're not born like clinically insane, murderous, villainous. They develop into that. We're taught to be evil. We're not just inherently evil. So
Right.
I think that was a great take on it. And if there's going to be another one and another one, he'll get crazier and crazier because you see a huge jump from the beginning of that movie to the end.
Right.
And I love how we're talking about Doctor Strange, and now all of a sudden we're talking about the Joker.
I know. Multiverse. What I will tell you though is, number one, Multiverse of Madness is great. Though throw all of your expectations out the window. It's better to go in there with a blank slate and an open mind, and just enjoy the movie for what it is. There are there is one character in particular that I am not a fan of. And we'll talk about it when you finally watch it. I want to kind of get your 2 cents on that one character. However, I do think there are, again, if you ever wanted to know about what Scarlet Witch is capable of, finally, they let her cut loose 1,000%.
I've heard that she really kind of turns around and just goes crazy.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. A lot of the stuff that we had seen, particularly in WandaVision, comes to play here in Multiverse of Madness. And if you had watched What If, some of the things in regards to Doctor Strange, in regards to What If, kind of play out in this too.
Okay, yeah, it sounds good. I mean, I've seen mixed reviews, just like any movie. It's like for every one person that says this is the best thing ever, there's like 3 that says it's the worst thing ever, and all this. But people, I think, really just want to complain. She really got the Raimi memo.
She did.
And I'm hoping that, this being Sam Raimi's first Marvel movie or Marvel related movie since Spider-Man 3, I think, which was, I forget when, like 2010 or something like that. I hope that opens the door for more movies with him. I mean, not just, I know this is more of a style of his, like, not Spider-Man, but like everything he did before and after Spider-Man. But I want to see a Raimi Spider-Man movie again. I really do. I read this headline that says like Sam Raimi would never direct a Spider-Man movie with Andrew Garfield or Tom Holland or whatever because Tobey Maguire would slap him or something silly like that. But it would be really cool to see another like Spider-Man 4. Give us Spider-Man 4. I think it would be great. And Amazing Spider-Man 3. There's no reason that we can't have 3 different Spider-Man universes to go on. Because in the middle of, it seems like every Marvel Spider-Man movie takes about 17 years to
Right.
make. And then there's 14 years of actors lying to us. I think in between those times, they could put out a Spider-Man with someone else or this or that, or maybe get somebody in to do a Miles Morales movie. Because we where was it? It was a No Way Home at the end where, he takes Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, takes his mask off, and Electro sees him for the first time. He's never seen him before. He's like, oh, I was picturing a black kid. Well, there's somewhere out there's a black Spider-Man. And we know that was a hint at Miles Morales.
Right.
And
right.
I loved that. I love that because I would love to see a Miles Morales movie. I think it would be great.
I'm surprised that we've only seen it animated.
Tuning out for a second, spoiler protection. We're not really going to go too deep in spoilers because I haven't seen it myself. But
yeah, Clemente, I specifically, because Steven hasn't seen it yet, I'm being extremely vague as far as the movie is concerned. But if you want to wait until next week where we can go full on out on in regards to the movie, then that works as well. So
yeah, because the next show is going to be pretty fun. We're going to have Dan's Toy Box joins, and we're going to talk toys a little bit, turtle figures, all that kind of stuff, and we're going to talk about Doctor Strange.
I think it's going to be really neat. We've had directors and actors and producers on our show over the years, and so it's kind of neat that we get a chance to speak to somebody a little bit different.
Yeah.
For me, the comic book shop, the collector's shop, when I was a kid, it really was sort of a refuge. It was in a small town where there wasn't much to do. I remember spending quite a bit of time in the comic shop, reading all the comics, checking out the back issues, maybe buying a couple. But it really was a hangout that I remember fondly, and I feel like there are fewer and fewer places like that in existence today.
There are. It's crazy that we're talking about toys and stuff. Not crazy, but this Saturday on the 21st, I'm going to a local Comic-Con. So
nice.
I don't know how much money I'm going to spend while I'm there. I'm going to try not to spend that much because I've been trying to slow down on buying action figures. But the last year I went last year to the same one, and it's right across the street from where I work. So it's so much easier to get to than, say, driving.
Yeah, hard to beat that.
I really did want to get out to a little event today, but I didn't have a chance. I was working and it was just too close to manage. We had the opportunity, but again, the scheduling and things didn't work out too good. But in there's a town in South Carolina today that was a toy shop. I believe what was it called? I don't remember the name of the shop. I should have remembered that and put it out here. But they had legendary wrestler Mick Foley, who was Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, for those of you who were wrestling fans. He was there today, and this place is like a little over an hour away from my house. And you have the opportunity to take a selfie with him, get autographs, and I was like, yes! But it just didn't work out this time.
Yeah.
So. But that's okay. There'll be other opportunities for that kind of thing. I'm excited. We're going to be talking about toys and stuff the next show, which I kind of want to do if you're able to do it like on a Friday type thing this coming up, if that's possible. Because the next week will be Sunday, May 22nd, a week from tonight. And that I wanted that to be our 100th episode because we were going to go through and talk about Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke. Could be it would be my dad's 60th birthday. I wanted to do at least one thing that was like, oh yes, this is cool.
Yeah.
If we can't work that out, then we can always do it on the following week, like the 28th or whatever it is.
So you want us to go and record this coming Friday?
If that's doable. I mean, if not, we can work it out.
What time?
Around the same time, or we can change it, whatever works.
So my only issue is just that I get off of work at 4:30, and then I still have to get home. So for me, I wouldn't be able to record until 5:30 at the earliest.
We could go for We could go for 9, 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. 9
Okay.
for me, 6 for you. That would work a little bit better, I think.
All right. And then just if you would also give me a reminder,
Oh
that
yeah,
would be helpful.
yeah. I should. Yeah, earlier reminder than 20 minutes or whatever it was last time.
Right.
Um, and that's kind of on me because I've had to reschedule a couple of shows and we got off track a little bit. We're trying to keep that on that 22nd date for the 100th episode. We might actually have Mark Guggenheim on that show as well. I've asked him, and he said he would be willing to do it. Just let him know a little bit ahead of time, and he's going to try to join in. So I thought that would be really cool to have him on, maybe in the beginning or towards the end, just for a brief little hello kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that'd be great.
Of course, he could stay longer if he wants. I would love to talk to him about his thoughts on the cancellation of all the CW shows. Pretty much the entire CW was canceled, with the exception
Okay.
of Flash and Superman and
So
Lois.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I feel like the internet is just screaming right now. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. I haven't met. Number one, I wonder if all of these people were actually watching these shows. Um, like for example, I've heard a lot of people really mad about Naomi being canceled.
Who? The people that are in it?
I don't know. I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah. I mean, was I watching Naomi? Sure. Do I agree that it wasn't all that great? Yeah. Um, was I surprised when it got canceled and didn't survive past its first season? I wasn't surprised at all. I saw that one coming, and I think most people probably could see that in comparison to other shows, um, Naomi just never really went anywhere.
and I think what it is, like I watched the first few episodes, I didn't get into it, I kind of gave up on it, which kind of contradicts what I was gonna say, which is maybe give it a second season to see if it finds its footing, because it's hard to get to that point in the very first season of something. But at the same time, I feel like that show is just too new. Like the characters are too new, because the comics, I believe, were just from a few years ago. They just started. This character was just created, and not that it means it's not good enough, but I think fans of pop culture, comic characters in general, probably haven't had time to really get used to this character. And just like, Batwoman has been around for decades. Not decades, but I don't know when Batwoman was created, but long enough to know and long enough to have a history. Same with Superman, same with the Flash. All these characters have had a big history. But Naomi was just like essentially a baby character. It's very new. So the fact that they made a full season out of it is interesting. Like, okay, cool, you tried.
Well, see, I think it had a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Um, the way they were billing it was that they were going to almost make this like a different version of Superman, and
Hmm.
I think that she had the potential with those powers. But understand that powers don't make a character. You still have to have good writing behind it, and that's where it really fell flat was with the writing.
Yeah,
So
and of course, Corey comes in and says Naomi was just a slow tease that never paid off. It suffered from poor writing and directing. And I think that's what it was for me. They kept going like, "Is that Superman? Is that Superman?" And of course, we have actively Superman and Lois. So initially you're like, "Oh, Superman's going to cross over. This is going to be cool," and nothing. It's almost like with me saying, "Well, I think tomorrow Grant Gustin's coming to my house," and then he never shows up because I'm lying. It's like a tease to get people in, and I think that's kind of where they started messing up. Like, don't tease something you have no intention of paying off,
right.
or at least you have the intentions of paying off, but you don't know if you're going to get to. Don't tease it unless you know for sure, like it's going to build towards something. Have a reason for everything you do.
Right. Naomi had a bunch of characters that seemed to like surround her. It was like her little gang. They were her
Mhm.
friends. I often had really thought about Naomi like a super powered Scooby Doo. I mean, all she needed was a dog, and but it just didn't hit me quite the way I. Number one, I never made a connection with any of them, and that was one of the things that I struggled with in regards to Naomi was just simply that um, it was kind of forgettable. I'm sure I'm not the only person who really kind of felt that way.
And I'm frozen again.
Yeah, you're frozen again. I guess we're just gonna have to roll with it.
Yeah, I think we could just roll with me being frozen
Yeah,
for a while because every time I reset it and come back, it seems like it causes more issues.
I know.
Um,
You do look like a serial killer though with that face.
yeah, that's gonna be like the Life People magazine cover or whatever. Um,
it really is sort of a Charlie Manson kind of look.
we need to have a graphic over my face that says "on the phone"
Right,
or
right.
whatever.
Oh, I don't know what it is. We need to like contact your internet provider, Steven.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the internet signal itself. It seems like maybe I'll check into this because it seems like the only time I have this kind of issue is when I'm streaming with this.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Like if I'm watching a movie, streaming a movie, no glitches, no hiccups. Every now and then the quality buffers in and out, but I mean it never stops. But it's only when I'm streaming this show that it does this, and it didn't used to do this.
Are you running
Um,
off? Are you running off of Wi-Fi or are you plugged directly into the internet?
Now I am running off Wi-Fi for my computer. That could be a
Okay.
part of it.
So what
Um,
I do on mine before I start a show, I plug directly into my internet,
I need to
and
start doing that
I really have noticed a difference in just the speed and quality.
for
Um,
sure.
so that give that a try and see if it helps.
I think a part of it has to do also with having a roommate and then him having the internet connection, which doesn't really tie down too much of it. I'm talking with my hands, and everybody's like, no one knows it. Um, but I have an Xbox game system who's it's kind of like always on. It's off, but it's always got a signal. So little things like that kind of weakens the signal. Plus, with a wireless connection, of course, it breaks away some of the signal too. And it could be just the software I'm using to stream from the camera. I need to get an
Right.
actual webcam, and I think that would have part of it resolved.
So here's what I will say. So we know that Naomi was canceled. Again, no big surprise. DC's Legends of Tomorrow. I think that considering where the show went, frankly, I wasn't surprised either. I thought that show had gone so crazy, there was no way they could possibly top it. That show is over. And then, what else?
Um,
Batwoman was canceled.
yeah, that
And
was an interesting one.
I thought their third season was actually really good, but I think season 2 was so bad. They were working so hard to dig themselves out of the pit. You're back. All right.
Yay.
But they were working so hard to dig themselves out of the pit they had dug by trying to write their way out of Kate Kane and Ruby Rose leaving the show that
Microwave.
yeah. You know what I mean though? I
Yeah.
thought that when I look back at those shows, I'm like I think there was good argument to get rid of all of them. That
Yeah.
said, again, you get rid of all these shows. What does that leave on the CW? I know it leaves us the Flash, it leaves us with Stargirl, and it leaves us with Superman and Lois. And then they are introducing Gotham Knights.
Yeah, Gotham Knights is going to be a big one. I think we could have lost not to say anything bad about Batwoman, but with Gotham Knights coming in, I don't know if it's going to be tied into that at all, or if it's going to be its own thing with an own separate world. But I don't think we really need like 17 Bat-related shows.
No.
And the same with Naomi. I just don't think it's stuck. And it's
Yeah.
like, and plus too, the reason I don't necessarily think that Naomi got canceled because it was terrible, which I wasn't a huge fan of it. But I think a bigger part of it was the fact that, CW's on the market as a network. They're selling CW, and there was a merger too with whatever Warner Media, whatever it is that owns the CW and this and this. A lot of it, they're just cost cutting. Like, let's get rid of all this and then start this and then kind of restructuring things. So a lot of it had to do with that. That's what happened with Legends. Like, people at the CW itself wanted Legends. The producers wanted Legends. The studios wanted Legends. But it was just some executives here and there. It's the restructuring thing.
It was interesting when you look at the viewership numbers. There were other shows that still, and Justice You, right?
Yes.
Yes. That said, there were other shows. For example, Riverdale. Like, how is Riverdale still on? I mean, I think our podcast gets higher views than
Yeah,
Riverdale does,
and that's
and
saying a lot.
it is, and it's still on the air. I don't understand how that is. Here's my guess, and this is my guess. Take it for what it's worth. I think that as a network, they are they really don't want to be a super powered network.
Right.
I think that they're going to hold on to the super powered shows that are doing well because you don't throw away money, but they were trimming the fat because those shows don't reflect on who they want to be anymore.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's a lot of it. I do think, unfortunately, though, the optics of getting rid of some shows where the cast is where a very multicultural cast. If you have Naomi as well as Batwoman,
Hmm.
where the main character leads were African American,
Right.
and then also the view regarding LGBTQ representation.
Yeah, and
Um,
Legends kind of like hits both of those targets that Legends was all about, the main character. And that's what I'm disappointed in. We don't get to see. Like Sarah Lance married Ava Sharp, which was a weird dynamic, not because it was two female characters, but because one was a clone, one was a clone alien hybrid. And we found out at the end, at the very last episode, that Sarah became pregnant by her wife. DNA physically like becomes pregnant because of the alien DNA. I'm like, this is interesting. It's almost like when Mick Rory had babies.
yeah,
He was pregnant. Silly things like that, and they weren't afraid. That show wasn't afraid to say, oh, here's an African American teacher. Here's um, gosh, I feel like there's so much more racial representation on that show, but I don't remember all of them because there was so much. It was just like,
I mean, how about Gary the alien
yeah,
and the AI, um, having a relationship? I
yeah,
mean, that was pretty extreme. Um,
they weren't afraid of
Again,
that.
I feel like it used to be that whole idea of dare to defy, right? It was that embracing of um, of female empowerment, of um, equality, and it's possible that the direction of the network may not be as inclusive as it was at one point.
Yeah, I didn't think about that one. That's a good point because now the shows that you're seeing that are remaining are pretty much clean cut. Like this is, white American family with Superman Lois, even though he's an alien. But as far as the on the surface, what it looks like, the Flash.
I mean,
You know,
I think that we do have we clearly do have African American characters, people of color, right?
yeah,
I mean, with the Cushings are Hispanic. Both John and his daughter. It's certainly far from being a whitewashed show, and
sure,
they
yeah,
are even incorporating the element of gay bisexual, through Sarah
yeah,
and the summer school kiss. So it's not like they're not including those types of stories, but it
no,
is not the major driving theme of the entire show. Maybe they're looking for more subtlety.
I think they might be.
Yeah,
Great ideas and concepts should be allowed to grow naturally, moving the stories, and that I agree with that.
I agree. I
And I
agree.
think if your theory is correct, I think that maybe it not. I don't want to say it's a good move and sound like, oh, I'm being hateful, but so many people complain and say, oh, it's just forced. It's just forced, and no one wants to force anything. I feel like Batwoman wasn't forcing. I think there should be lead roles that represent certain people because why shouldn't there be? It's like Mark Guggenheim said. Of course there's going to be gay characters because gay people exist.
Yeah,
Why not show that?
I
Why
think
not?
right. I personally believe that we need great characters who happen to be gay. That's what I want. Is that we write great characters that are engaging, that are dynamic, that are interesting, um, and that have those kinds of relationships where they are a different color or racial ethnicity or religion. and but it's a part of their character,
Mhm.
that is subtle, that's engaging, that's interesting, that's dynamic. Um, I think we can write stories that are like that,
Oh yeah,
where it's not just about that, right?
right,
I'm a white guy. That's not my entire identity, right? It's a small piece of who I am,
right. And I
and
think a good example of that is like on Supergirl with Dreamer and Brainiac or Brainy. You know, Dreamer was one of the first. I don't know if it's the first on television, but one of the first transgendered characters. And not only that, was played by a transgendered actor. But they weren't like, "Look at me, look at me, look at me." They just kind of said, "Hey, here's the situation," and it didn't overshadow the character itself.
even then, there were people who didn't like Dreamer.
Yeah,
Um,
because of that. But
right.
I mean,
But
I
I
didn't see it. I kept forgetting about. I thought, well, this is a very good actor. I love this character.
Yeah. No, I thought that they were heading in the right direction. I
Yeah,
think with her character, and I enjoyed her. I thought she did great as a part of the team.
yeah,
I think that again, I think that storytelling like that is entirely possible. People who people who show diversity, people who reflect that the real world in stories, that they're not just one color or one ethnicity,
right.
or one racial background. I think that we can write stories that are like that and still not hit people over the head with it, if
Exactly.
that makes sense.
Yeah. You want to dare to defy? We need a show about the female Jamaican poly bobsled team. I would watch that. I would watch that show.
I would too. That would be awesome.
Yeah, at least one season. Superman and Lois is a great example of allowing organic development, making better content. I agree. I think
I absolutely
that's what's so good about that show.
right.
From that first episode until now, really, it's never pushed too far to any edge. It's always been able to blend everything very well, and I think it's gonna. I think that's one of those shows that could easily go 7 to 8 seasons.
Right. I've got to say, it's again, they're doing what I think is hard. They're taking a character that everybody knows and loves, and yet they're really they're really creating this new universe. And
Yeah,
they're adding things to it without necessarily taking away from what we are already kind of comfortable with. They are taking some risks, but I agree. Yeah, definitely Clemente, about how they are organically building it. They've been really smart, and I guess what I'm frustrated by is why they don't give that same kind of time and attention and care to all their stories,
yeah.
right?
I mean, the Flash is the Flash. What can you say? I don't want to like hate on it, but I also am not going to be like, yay, like I was in the first, say, 4 years. For some reason, the second half of the Flash so far, from season 5 to 8, has been not bad, but it's just like leveled out. I think season 5 might have been my least favorite season, or was it 6? The whole
They
Mirrorverse
were they were
thing.
both pretty poor.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. Hopefully this season gets better. I was mad that there was no new Superman and Lois this week because I had a busy Tuesday and Wednesday. So by like last night, like Friday night, I'm like, oh, I forgot to watch these shows, and I go on and no Superman and Lois. That's the one thing I could say about that show that I don't like is it seems like they go on 4-year break every 6 episodes, every 2 episodes,
They really do.
and
They
it's
really
like
do.
I get it, they're stretching it out, it lasts longer, and that's a good thing, but it's just I get so impatient. I mean, like with the Flash, I could wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks because we're used to that. Um, well, not used to it, but we went from Crisis to like 7 years later getting new episodes or whatever. It felt like that. And then now 2 years later, it's like Superman and Lois is there on its second season, and it's on break every other week. It feels like, and I just I'm like, come on, man, get you're ready. Because after that last episode, Lana finds out Clark is Superman, and it's just like, oh, see you again in 2 or 3 weeks. Like,
Right. They love to literally leave us with these cliffhangers, and
I think that
again,
helps.
that's wrong.
It's
Um,
wrong, but I think it helps the story because if you think about it, some big, huge reveal or big, huge thing that happens like that, and then it's like if you instantly got the next step, it would be like, okay, cool. But now you're building up this anticipation for 2 weeks, like, ooh.
Yeah,
And so it's a better progression, I think, towards like
right.
the end goal.
Well, and the last break too was right before they went to Bizarro's in a Bizarro World, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, again, they love, you know, making us wait and playing games. Again, I believe it's part of what they're doing. If it's too easy, right, people aren't going to tune in and watch. But if you give a little bit and you take a little bit away, right? If you make them wait a little bit, I
Mhm.
think that they're doing it intentionally.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've had women that did that and it worked. So
yeah,
with the Flash though, did you catch the Flash this
I
past week?
did. I
And
did.
I kind of felt like that was a little bit of a filler episode, but it also kind of was a step towards the next stage or the next story or whatever.
So we've already established the fact that I I'm not a fan of them killing off Frost. Between Frost and Caitlin, I liked Frost a hell of a lot better.
At this
Um,
point, yeah, like earlier on in the show, like the first 4 seasons, I like Caitlyn because she it seems like she had a purpose. This time, it feels like she's just there to be saved.
right.
It's like an Iris character. It's like you're not doing. She's super smart. She can heal people, do not heal magically, but she has the doctor. She has all these great skills, but yet they don't seem to showcase any of them anymore. And I don't get that. But yeah, killing Frost, I was like, oh no, she'll be back, and
Right.
she wasn't back.
I do feel like the episode could have easily just focused entirely on the grieving of Frost. But instead, they decide to introduce another bad guy of the week,
Yeah,
kind of in the form of this guy named Blockbuster,
yeah,
which I swear we've seen him in something else. Um,
the '90s.
that's
No,
probably it.
yeah, I don't know.
But
Um,
they brought Blockbuster in. Barry goes to fight him, and then all of a sudden, who do we see backing Barry up in the street? We've got Allegra and we've got Cecile
yeah,
going to fight Blockbuster with Barry. I'm
yeah,
like, since when do either of you guys go out in the field and fight?
I know.
And
Like Allegra could, but Cecile's just like, he's angry. Yeah, really? You think? Um, I don't know.
so I thought at this point that Allegra had a pretty decent control of her powers.
Mhm.
Um, she should be able to aim her light at the right person. Um, but somehow the first blast she goes blows up the cop car instead of the person she's supposed to aim at. And then Cecile, again, she's there trying to fight Blockbuster, and she has no idea how she's going to go. She has the heart power ring. That
Yep.
is absolutely true. I mean, unless she's going to go walk up there and give him a hug, I
Well, that's
don't
how they
know.
resolve all their problems in past seasons. Like they
I
hug them and say, "Go
I
away." And
guess, but I did feel like number one, both of them training wise, they're not in a position where they're ready to go out and help anybody. They are
right.
complete liability. Number two, though, and I think it's even more glaring, is why are they not in uniforms?
Some or hiding behind a car or something because people are going to make the connections.
So there's a lot of there's some very practical reasons for uniforms, right? Number one, if you're going out in the field to go and fight bad guys, you're going to get hit, you're going to fall, you're going to run into things. You need an outfit that's going to protect you physically
Mm-hmm.
from a blow, from a burn, from a cut. Um, those are all things that your uniform is going to do. The other part of it is um, there's a reason why Barry has a cowl that covers his face. So he takes it off and shows it to everybody all the time. The idea that Cecile and Allegra are going to run around with Barry without a mask on and just reveal their identity to everybody. I mean, they both have day jobs.
Yeah, pretty
Um,
big ones too.
they
Because
do.
I mean, and they all hang around Barry as Barry, so they're gonna make the connection. Like, okay, you work for this guy's wife, and you're married to this guy's dad, basically, adopted dad, and you're gonna sit there and like, wait a minute, they're gonna make the connections where like this group of people are around, and then this group of people, but instead of Barry, it's the Flash. They're gonna start to know like, but maybe it's the magic of like putting on a pair of sunglasses and taking them off, or not sunglasses, but glasses. I mean, if that works, you could rub lipstick all over your eyes and face. That's one way to do it, I guess.
Yeah, I think
Um,
I think there are a lot of options that are available. We know that maybe just give them a pair of glasses.
or
Um,
the technology's there to where they have that facial change thing, and we even saw Frost use it when she disguised herself as Caitlin to get, or maybe it was the other way around, or whatever, to get to lure Deathstorm in or whatever.
right,
They could just use that to make it look like Richard Simmons
of course,
or
of
Bebo
course,
or whoever,
I-
and it doesn't matter.
right. So I don't know whether it was intentionally where they left off the masks. Maybe I really do feel like the writers were trying to show us that Team Flash is so reeling from the loss of Frost that they're making really really stupid decisions.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of it. They're all emotionally compromised. Maybe if they weren't dealing with Frost being gone, they would have said, you know, maybe they need something to cover their faces. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and this would certainly be a role that Frost would have covered. Um, but anyway, I thought that part really had me scratching my head a little bit. What I did find the strength of the episode to be was dealing with the emotional fallout of death,
Yeah.
right? That Frost was gone, and each person on the team had to find their own way of dealing with that death and kind of paying respects to her memory.
Yeah. And it was weird a little bit. Like some of the moments where you see Barry making a snowman, I'm like, what? And then he pulls away and he's on top of I'm like, okay, he's doing a bucket list for her. But it's like, as he's doing all this, it's going to end with him going, it didn't work. Because doing a bunch of stuff that someone else didn't get to do is not going to make your pain go away from losing a friend. It's nice. And then Caitlin dealing with it the hardest, like, I don't need this. This is stupid. Just that kind of like acting out, like, I don't want this. This is dumb. Like, what? And then at the last moment, you see her. Oh, look! I'm at the funeral now. Everybody, look at me. I kind of saw those things coming, but I mean, I get it. Like, I get that anger and not wanting to be around it because it seems real. It makes it final. This is actually happening now.
I really feel like Caitlin is like she's pulling a Scarlet Witch, just like Scarlet Witch was trying to bring her imaginary kids back to life. That she is trying to bring back Frost.
Yeah, and Corey says every time he has Dippin' Dots, he's going to spill a little bit in Frost's memory. I mean, that's a good way to do it. I'm going to make some ice cubes and just leave them in the freezer. But yeah, Caitlin trying to bring back Frost, I kind of saw that coming in a way. Like, I thought it's the formula we always see. Caitlin's just like, I'm depressed and angry. And Barry's like, please don't be, friend. Hug. Barry was right. Oh, it's all okay now. Like, no, I knew there was something else because that doesn't, the hug and it's okay at the end, that doesn't always work. It can't always work. So I thought, what are they going to do? I thought Caitlin was going to become Frost just naturally because it was split from her doesn't mean it couldn't regenerate somehow. But then we see her like with all this stuff in her apartment, secretly trying to recreate Frost all over again. Now my thing is, okay, when that happens, if it succeeds, we're not going to get the same Frost. We're going to get like a copy or a new version, sort of like how we had Nora West Allen, and then she dissolved into nothing, and then a new version came back. I think that's what's going to happen, and I feel like that version is going to be evil. It's going to be Killer Frost, and
You
not
know,
Frost.
the issue that I think it really harkens back to the classic Frankenstein, right? That you know, that the Dr. Frankenstein didn't set out to create a monster, right?
No.
I think so often there is a sometimes there's a good reason for why they do what they do, but it's that whole thing about be careful what you wish for, you just might get it.
Yep.
I definitely feel like this is one more time we're going to see that that a scientist does something maybe for a good reason to bring back her sister, and it's going to end up ending horribly wrong.
Us
Right?
belong dead.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
which one was that from? I was from the Frankenstein movie, but I can't remember. Bride of Frankenstein, I think, where his bride, there were both of them running around. Everybody's freaking out. He's like, "Us belong dead," and he understood and learned. I thought that was great. Um, but I definitely see that happening with Frost, or if she succeeds at all.
Well,
It,
and when we consider that with was it Death Storm being
yeah,
gone, uh, that storyline being over, there's not really a big bad to deal with. There's Iris's time sickness,
hmm
um, but it seems like they really enjoy playing with multiple bad guys at the same time,
yeah.
or multiple issues at the same time. Um, so I do wonder if this introduction of something that Caitlin's going to do could end up being the major conflict besides Iris's time sickness.
That's what I was thinking at first. I thought she was going to create like a worse version of Killer Frost, like the Earth 2 Killer Frost we saw with the introduction of Zoom. Which makes me think, because we've talked about the set photos of this new character, this black suit, yellow lightning bolt. What reminds me a lot of a different version of Zoom, maybe, and we see Tom Cavanaugh in that suit. And you remember the relationship between Zoom and the original Frost from Earth 2. So maybe that is all kind of linked. I don't know that Tom Cavanaugh is playing a version of Zoom, but why else would he have a black suit? We'll see. We'll see what happens. They don't have too many episodes left, I don't think. Um, I don't know what episode they were on. I lose track. I don't count them. I just watch them. I'm like, oh, it's over. Oh,
Right,
when's the next one? I do
right.
know that the next episode Barry goes into the Still Force. He enters the Still Force to try to either find Iris. And I feel like around this time of the season, every season, I gotta find Iris. I gotta save Iris. Iris is gonna get killed. Iris is gonna die. Like, let her die. I mean, get over it. You
Let her
know,
die.
well, maybe not. That's a little harsh, but I mean, it's like she's always in danger. Move to like Canada or something where there's no super villains. I mean, I don't know. It seems like they need to have
Okay,
a
I
different
I'm not
different.
going to go. I'm not going to go quite that far. Um, I think that Barry has always been her lightning rod, and I think that as groany as that phrase is, that proving the fact that he's willing to go anywhere and do anything in order to save her, and I think vice versa, she's willing to do anything for him. I think um, that's always been their strength.
Yeah. And lately, though, it kind of feels like their marriage is fake. Like they're just like, we got to make the kids happy. Not that like they're miserable, but like you've made the point in the past, like they don't spend a lot of time together. They're always a separate, like doing something else. And when they aren't, the Iris disappears.
Right.
And not to say that they're not close, because obviously they are, but they still haven't had kids yet. And if we're coming up near the end, we're gonna, and she disappeared one more time. I don't know. If she's always busy getting saved, then she needs to get busy doing something else.
Right.
So that,
Right.
and then Barry could do it so fast. You wouldn't even have to have that long of a time. We're not going to get too far into that, though.
We don't need to go and talk about the mechanics of baby making. I think
No.
that most of our viewers probably understand it. Now let me first say that a little bit of space between them is not a bad thing.
No.
I liked the fact that Barry could focus on Team Flash, and Iris could focus on being in charge of, um, the Citizen.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really where her abilities shine the most,
Yeah, I agree.
is in that area. Um, that they needed to have separate lives in that regard. Um, the idea that somehow she's going to get involved in the superhero stuff, to me, never worked. They had plenty of people in the Cortex telling Barry to run, Barry, run.
Yeah,
They didn't need any more. That said, um, yes, they need to have some kind of relationship between the two of them, and beyond just simply going and saving her in an
yeah.
episode.
And I think that's
And
what it's always been the last couple
right,
of years. We need to see him build Gideon.
oh,
I want to see that too. I wanted to see that from
oh,
the first time he discovers the time vault.
but you need to understand the fact that I think that's going to be one of those massive plot holes that they're just going to forget about. Um, just
Uh,
just like the newspaper article about Barry disappearing and never returning. Um,
oh my
you
gosh.
know what I mean? Like I mean, that was the specter that had hung over the show for seasons, and then he gets there, it doesn't happen. Uh,
Jenny from Forrest Gump, Run Forrest Run, they ripped it off.
they really did. They did.
And Barry goes, okay. And starts running faster.
He's like, why didn't I think of that? I need to run. When your
Yeah.
superpower is to run, and then people just tell you to run, it's like, really? What am I paying you for?
And he didn't think of that. He's like, you're right.
Right. And whenever they don't know what to do, like, guys, I don't know what to do. The building is on fire. What am I going to do? And they're like, Barry, I want you to listen to me. I want you to run as fast as you can. Thank you.
You really think
That
it's
never
gonna
would have.
work?
That never would have come to me.
Or like how they
Right.
do instantly to like spin your arms like this. How would you? I don't know. Well, Thawne, I guess in the beginning knew as far as the specifics of like twirl your arms, do this and this to make this happen. Like he would know because he did all that. But yeah, the whole run thing, it's like they get paid every time they say it. But yeah,
I
I don't know. That did bug me too. Like the thing with Thawne, and because it was supposed to be the Flash, and after an epic battle with the Reverse Flash, like that whole thing right before Crisis, or right as Crisis is happening, it's supposed to be the night he goes and his mom gets killed. That's supposed to connect to that.
right.
So now that doesn't happen that way, that event is fixed. It still happened. So either we're going to get a different way that Barry's mom dies, or it's going to be one of those fixed points that no matter if you change the past, that point still happens that way, which irritates me so bad. But Dawn's pure existence is same thing. And I don't know.
So, I know. I've got to say that I've been a little. I know that we had that very Nora and Bart centric episode, and I
Yeah.
had thought that with them sort of like beginning the season with Nora and Bart messing with time and getting things screwed up, that story would end up coming back and integrating with the one that we're in.
Yeah.
And so far, it hasn't.
I think that maybe they're going to double back to that. It's almost like, okay, let them forget or let them think, oh, we messed up, and then connect it. Because that could be why Iris is so time sick.
It could be.
It could interfere. I think she already had some sickness from when she was in the mirror world. But, and is that the same mirror world that Doctor Strange put Peter Parker in? No, I don't know. Probably not. But, yeah, I think she got that sickness there, and then them breaking time might have caused some complications with that and sped up some thing. Hopefully they come back. So if they don't, then that's gonna really irritate me too. It's like, why even go there at all if you're not gonna do anything with it?
We know that the CW enjoys creating storylines with the hope that maybe they end up getting a spinoff. Right?
That's true.
It's like what they did with Green Arrow and the Canaries. It's what they did with Black Lightning with the Painkiller series. That said, neither of them got picked up, and
Right.
so if the idea of dropping Nora and Bart in this season was just with the hope that they might be able to have a Nora and Bart Flash, um, future Flash show.
I think
Um,
there's still hope for that. I think, I don't think we've seen the last of them this season. I'm pretty sure they're going to be back. So we'll see what happens, I guess. Iris is an alien clone hybrid and can get pregnant when Barry sings karaoke. Maybe. Has to be drunk Barry, though, I think.
On the Flash!
Everybody, I'm the Flash. And
That was hilarious.
I love that. We need to see
hilarious.
Drunk Barry again. Definitely need to see Drunk Barry. Oh. Or Invisible Barry or something. I don't know. Do something different. Oh, gosh. I miss Cisco.
You know what? I agree. And I think that's been when we lost a Tom Cavanaugh as an actor on the show, both as Wells as well as Thawne and all of the different iterations of the character. I think we really lost a lot. And then I also agree with losing Cisco Ramona's vibe. That he really brought this natural life and humor to everything.
Yeah.
And I think Chuck is okay.
He's all right.
But I really do feel like he's just trying too hard.
And I think that's supposed to be the character. I think, he's nerdy and tech savvy and very smart, and it fills that void. But with the comedic value and all that, he's just like
it's
almost
not the
like
same.
Almost like Steve Urkel, but not as clumsy. Sort of like he's always pushing himself too hard and trying to think too much about something and really going for it, but yet not. I don't know. It's not the same. And it's not bad. It's just not the same. Wow. Okay. So poor OG Cisco technically died from a vibrator to the heart. I mean, that's one way to put it. Cisco.
Yeah.
In many ways, you let me know. I forgot what the line was, but in many ways, you showed me what it was like to have a son, or something.
You've been like a son to me.
Something like that. Yeah. That was such a good moment.
And then Cisco's like, Kalima.
And the first time before I saw that episode, my old roommate at the time had watched a few episodes and he thought it was great, and he was like, "Oh, did you see it? The evil one killed the little Mexican boy." And I was like, okay. The funny thing is I knew exactly what he was talking about.
Right.
But and then later on it turned out that was like a dream and it didn't actually happen. Or it did happen, but he changed it, whatever. But yeah, oh my gosh, that show is so much
But
better.
doesn't it make you long for season 1 and 2 where you had these really well thought out villains? Like, who would have thought after watching half of season 1 that Harrison Wells was the bad guy?
Yeah, it was good. It was so good.
They again, that was just masterful writing, and then what they did, with Zoom and introducing, Jay, who we thought was Jay, but not really Jay, and then he really turns out to be the bad guy. Again, I feel like that's the kind of writing that I wish they could get back to. Is the villain that wasn't obviously the villain?
Yeah, I really do wish they could go back to that. I mean, it kind of feels that way every time Thawne comes around. You're like, oh, or anytime he talks to Gideon, like, hello, Barry Allen. Like, ooh, like, anytime there's a little hint of any of that, it's like, all right. I didn't feel so much the same whenever Eddie Thawne came back, which we knew it wasn't going to be the real Eddie Thawne. It was just it was just Deathstorm projecting a grieving ghost thing onto Kate, not Caitlin, Iris. But it was still cool to see that guy on screen again. I don't know. I do miss the earlier days. I think you just like try to make it too complex and too different. And I think there's a lot of good and a lot of bad with how they have the seasons. Like first half is this villain, second half is this villain. This year we have 3 different story arcs, and it's like sometimes that's good because it breaks it up and it doesn't seem like there's so many filler episodes. But at the same time, they don't have time to really dive into those really well thought out deep storylines.
Right.
But we'll see how the season ends. So far, it's been better than the last, I think. I mean, I don't want to call it a home run or anything, but it's still, I think it's slightly better than season 7, which was just so weird.
I mean, I think that season 6 and 7 were pretty close to the bottom of the barrel.
Close, yeah. 4, I think after 4, it started going a little bit down. I mean, 1 greatest, I think it's almost to me like the number of the season is the order of how good it is, except for like season 8 would be where before 6 and 7. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 6, 7, or something. Maybe, I don't know.
I think I liked Bloodwork better than Cicada.
That's true. I did. I liked how they did the Cicada story though, where that's where they kind of started doing 2 villains, but it was the same character, but 2 separate versions of the same character. So you had this Cicada, and then you had the evil future Cicada, which was really neat how they did that. But they didn't have the original Cicada because I forget his name, but it was mentioned that when Nora came in at the end of the previous season to help Barry knock out the satellite that DeVoe had launched, that caused this guy to become Cicada instead of the original guy. It would have been cool to see that version of him, at least in some point. I don't know.
Right.
And then the whole Godspeed thing. Like, Godspeed is one of these big, huge characters, massive. And all of a sudden, it's just like, well, here he is. No, it's not. Here he is. No, it's not. It's like, I don't know. They could have done such a better job with that.
I was very underwhelmed by Godspeed.
He looks great.
Right.
Like, the costume was amazing. The whole idea was great, but they could have done way more with it.
And then the lightning battle where they're right. It was very Spaceballs to me.
Yeah, it was just that was
hello, Godspeed. I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
And they all turn to the camera and pull out the flash tape and put it in the VCR.
Right.
Oh, wow. That's a good movie. I need to rewatch that again. But yeah,
I think we've covered a lot.
They needed the Cicada song to be a Weird Al version of I Want to Be Sedated.
I knew, Corey, you were going to say that. I want to be Cicada.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been a good one. Now I'm thinking of other Weird Al songs that could have, like The Flash. Like if he did a theme song called like Run Barry Run, but like what would the original version that he's doing a parody of be? I don't know. Oh, that old song. I forgot what it was. It hit me and then it went away again. I'll think of it later. I don't think anybody wants to watch me try to figure out a song for 45 minutes.
It would be entertaining, I think.
They ripped off Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I mean, I guess sort of. They didn't have a guy named Cockknocker with a giant fist that came in and punched in an area that you could probably think based on his name. But it's interesting that Mark Hamill was in The Flash, and Mark Hamill played that character in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Interesting. Well, now here we go. Forrest Gump sung by Weird Al of Bush. Now we're going to be, this is the Weird Al show. Daniel Radcliffe, come on down.
I think this is probably a sign that we need to wrap things up.
Probably when we started talking about when I started talking about Richard Simmons, it probably was a good time. But that was
like 2 minutes in, wasn't
yeah,
it?
it was. Oh wow, this has background music. I just realized there was. I don't know if you can hear that or not. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight on Between the Pot and the Hard Place, we talk about. Wow, that sounds like one of those late night 900 number commercials. It's interesting though. Yeah, none of those seem fitting. There's a whole list of them. I'm like, really? Got to see what the rock one sounds like. You could dim it a little bit and be like, so yeah, today. I don't know. I could see like that feature being good for some shows, but I don't know.
Maybe if you were going to do that as part of like your introduction, instead of our normal introduction that we have, that we could have that sort of as being our.
Tonight we talk about. We talk. That one's too loud. I don't know. It's interesting though.
Yeah,
that's a new.
I don't think we're going to be incorporating that anytime soon.
No, but there are backgrounds that can be used. I don't think mine's going to work because I don't have much lighting. But I do want to try that one day. I want to fix that. There we go. Do a green screen. Get like one of those big sheets of fabric and hang it behind me, and then do like I could have a picture of the Death Star or whatever, and I could be doing the show from the Death Star.
Yeah,
that would be cool. Who knows? Sexual chocolate. Now that's a wrestling reference, I think. At least I hope. Yeah. Anyway,
wasn't that a Coming to America reference?
Oh, it could have been, and maybe that's where the wrestling reference came from. Because what I was thinking of, there was a wrestler called Mark Henry, and he did a character one time where he was sexual chocolate. He was just all flirty with all the women, like, "Hey, baby." So he might have been doing like a version, his own version, like a parody or a tribute to that. More than likely. Smooth vibes. Sounds like we're an oldies state, not an oldie station, but one of those like easy listenings. You're listening to Rock Between a Pot and a. Okay, that. So that's been a good show this week.
Right. It's been fun. It's been fun.
It has been. And so I guess it's going to be this Friday. We're going to come back. And
this Friday at 6 o'clock?
Yes, 6 p.m. I was going to say Pacific time. Wow. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully we can get Dan in here and we can talk. I mean, I don't know. He said he's good to wait till next time, but I'll hope he's good up for a Friday. If not, we'll figure something out. And then next Sunday, it's going to be their 100th episode, 100 episodes. It's going to be a little bit different. I don't think it's going to be an entire show of like, it's not going to be like a flashback episode or anything, but reviewing Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke. I have to watch that this week. Again, I haven't seen it in a long time, so I need to watch it again. And from there,
you need to go see Multiverse of Madness.
I do. I might actually try to go on Tuesday because it's usually cheaper on Tuesdays. Or maybe, I think Tuesdays are the cheaper days. Go at like 10:30 a.m. Be the only one there. It would be like $8 instead of going at night where it's like 14 or whatever.
You know what? I caught it this week. I got to see it for $5.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Hard to argue.
Yeah, I could always watch a grainy cell phone version online, but I don't want to. I did that with No Way Home, and I was like,
Go see it.
I did that with No Way Home, and then after No Way Home, I was like, that movie was so great, and I had to go to the theater and watch it for real. And then I bought the digital copy when it came out, the 4K digital No Way Home, which is great. It's got all the features in it too, so it's really cool. I also bought Jackass Forever on 4K digital. I did not know I needed to see that many parts of men in 4K. I really don't need to see that, but it's just one of those movies where you can't look away, so you have to buy the digital version and watch it again for some reason. It's funny, but I question why I do things that I do sometimes. All right. So yeah, go watch Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I'm going to do that this week. And yeah. So everybody, thanks for tuning in to episode 98. It was definitely strange. I keep looking at that picture, forgetting that my face is on it because it looks almost like it should. And I didn't even notice what Corey did with this. I noticed our logo in the middle, but I didn't notice the fact that it was a portal.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I just realized that. I don't know why. I think that's great. It's like, oh, look, you've opened up the portal to our show.
And it looks like Bruce Campbell is going to squirt mustard on you.
Probably for all the weird things that I say.
Probably.
And you're trying to protect me by going, just stop. It's time to wrap up the show. Just stop.
Right.
He's like, I'm going to put the mustard on you. And he's like, let's jump back to the portal before things get too weird. And that's the story of that. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll see you on Friday and then again on Sunday.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. See ya.